Hi guys, it's Lee from Andertons here, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by the amazing Darryl Anders. Not only is Darryl an extremely accomplished bass player, having played with some amazing names, not least Tower of Power, he's also head of bass innovation at Dunlop and MXR. So good to have you over here, Darryl.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. And
so what are we here to talk about today?
We're here to talk about bass innovations and Dunlop Bass Strings. We've got some new things coming out this year. The thing I'm most excited about is the new Dunlop Super Bright bass strings.
Okay.
We kind of went back to the drawing board to create a string that has a nice clear top end, a nice round bottom end, but it's almost like it takes the blanket off of your tone.
Mm-hmm.
You really hear your instrument. They're very flexible, so they respond to the nuances of your playing. And for guys that are, doing slap and kind of R&B stuff where you need a bright string, but a string that responds to your playing, it's the perfect thing.
And what is this? Is it a nickel wound?
It's actually available in nickel or stainless.
Or stainless steel.
Yeah.
And so how did you, is this a new thing for Dunlop to do bass strings, or is this just an evolution of the old bass strings into a new? Well,
it's different. I mean, mm-hmm. we've been doing strings now for almost 8 years, mm-hmm. and Les O'Connor, who's our string guy, he runs the production and really creates the strings. He's a super talented guy. He was at DR mm-hmm. Back in the day, and we've got state-of-the-art string winding machines, and we just kind of got together. And I had an idea of what I wanted, what I wanted to create, and talked to Les and sort of got to understand his language of building a string, and I think we came up with something really nice.
Okay, so Darryl's going to play some funk now. He's kind of like the funk master. Hopefully this shows off just kind of how tight the strings sound and how much sort of dynamics there are. We've kept the bass amp completely flat. We've popped in a couple of pedals here from MXR, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So we've got a little bit of compression on here, and we've also re-EQ'd it, but using the MXR bass preamps EQ rather than the
bass
EQ.
is flat.
Bass is flat and passive.
Yeah.
Cool. Take it away. I've had my daily dose of Stevie now. It's all good. Everything's good.
You can never go wrong with Stevie.
You can play, man. Well, of course. That's a stupid thing to say. You play with Tower of Power. Of course you can play. So that's cool. That's very, very cool. So let's move on to the pedals. Okay. Now you have this cool title of kind of head of bass innovation, and MXR. I guess guys will know about MXR's roots in guitar pedals. Mm-hmm. And you were telling me earlier that they tell me a little bit about how MXR have given you sort of free range to approach, doing the bass innovation range.
Well, I mean, bass is a big market, and what bass players want and need in a pedal is different than what guitar players want. Mm-hmm. It's important that the fundamental and the foundation is always there, because we're the foundation for the band. So it's critical that when you step on one of these pedals, the bottom's not going to drop out. You're not just going to be you know, sitting on top of everything. And we kind of design into the pedal the ability to have as much or as little of your natural bass tone. So it's because that's a real personal thing. So with the compressor, you can get everything from, you know, really transparent where you just feel it, or super squashed like, you know, Tony Levin and Peter Gabriel kind of stuff. The octave, you can it's basically got two separate voices.
Okay.
Two distinctly.
Oh, this growl and girth thing.
So you've got the two voices, and then you've got the dry signal, and then a mid boost here, which gives you just a little more focus on the note. So those kind of things were never really done before. So
and you said it again. I'm going to say this because I think Darryl was a little bit worried about saying this, but it's cool if I say it like that. He was saying that, again, MXR don't approach this by kind of just revoicing a guitar pedal for a bass player, you know, and without naming names, you know, perhaps there are other brands out there that might approach their bass market like this. You know, they'll say, hey, we have some successful guitar pedals, let's do bass. Let's just take a distortion pedal, change the EQ range, and then we call it a bass distortion. But you don't approach it like that.
Well, there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, you need to have the pedal work the way that a bass player would use it. So, you know, kind of our thing is bass products designed by bass players for bass players.
That's cool.
And you know, we've got a lot of different guys that work on the team that play different types of music. So whenever we design a product, we try to, you know, listen to everybody's input and put it in a range that's musical. So, you know, even if a kid goes and just starts diming things out, it's still going to be at a musical range. You know, I don't want to have crazy extremes where it's not going to sound good. You know?
No, that's cool. Well, look, let's just play a little bit. I'm going to take the bass preamp out just for a second, just so that we can just focus on each individual pedal. So let's do that kind of. I mean, you've got the compressor set. Oh no, you haven't. Let's just tighten it up a little bit here. Fattens the bass end out. It's my favourite. I always kind of think as a guitar player, and I'm not a bass player, I'm a guitar player, but you know, there's something about a compressor pedal. It's not an effect like a chorus or a distortion or something like that is, but there's something, you know, there's something kind of fulfilling about just, you know, playing with a little bit of compression on your tone, just because it's like an always better kind of sound.
Well, this compressor is very different than everything else that's out there as far as pedal tuners, because when we first started talking about this, I said to our engineer, it'd be great if we had a visual of how much compression was going on, because by the time you hear the compressor, it's already too much. You don't want to hear it in a lot of situations. You don't want to hear it, you want to feel it. So if I can see when the compression's coming on, then I can gauge it, and it could be exact. So this gives you, you know, the amount of compression that's happening here. You can see how fast or how slow the attack is. So you can really get a very transparent kind of compression without or limiting without killing the tone. And then you can squash it really hard. You can see that too, but it just gives you the ability to go back to that setting consistently. Whereas if you're EQing it with your ears, sometimes it's not as easy, because like I said, compression's not the kind of thing that you necessarily want to hear.
Awesome. No, that's all
And
very cool.
And these work great on guitar. People are using them in vocals.
Oh, really?
On like studio sessions and stuff.
Wow, it's quiet enough, is it, for all that kind of stuff? Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Next pedal we're going to try is the bass octave. Now, bass octaves, I think, is one of the coolest sounding pedals that you can buy, but it's very easy on a bass one to get messy, isn't it? Too much. But you've done some stuff with this, haven't you, to try and sort of make sure that it keeps it tight, keeps it, you know, real. And so tell me a little bit about this pedal.
The tracking is really good on it. As I said, it's got 2 individually voiced controls on it. One has more growl, a little more toothiness to it. The other one is a little smoother. It's called the girth channel. So you can
both really, the same octave though, those two, or
they're
is
both an octave down.
Yeah.
So you can use them independently or mix them together, and you can dial in as much or as little as the dry signal as you want. And it's got the mid-range boost, which gives you a nice little focus to the note.
So you don't lose the original.
Right.
Well, if you want to play, what I'll do is I'll kind of adjust the girth and the growl controls so that people can hear. Tracking's superb on that, isn't it? There's none of that. Again, there's another very famous octave pedal, which we won't say, which again you kind of it loses the definition and loses the tracking, doesn't it? But and I really like the difference in the growl and the girth tone. Again, it gives you, the growl is definitely going to be the rock guys, and the girth the girth's more subtle, isn't it? Just kind of fills it out and just makes it feel like a flatter tone.
The girth is a little smoother.
Yeah.
And the thing about this pedal is it plays well with others.
Yeah.
I use this. My probably 3 main pedals are the compressor, the octave, and the envelope. Especially when I was playing with Zig, I mean, there was a lot of kind of funk stuff, and it kind of allows me to get in the kind of synth bass range without having to go and play keyboard, which I suck at, so it works out well.
Fortunately, you're okay at the bass though, so you should be fine.
I do my best.
So now fuzz, bass fuzz, and there's also a very cool pedal in the MXR range, which is the bass overdrive, which we don't have today, but fuzz, I'm guessing, is that more 70s kind of dirty tone, whereas what overdrive is a little bit more of a contemporary rock sound? Or?
Well, fuzz is a little more extreme than overdrive. I guess that's the best way to look at it. Overdrive is everything from just a little bit of kind of hair on like
a crank tube.
Yeah, to more of a, you know, when it starts to get in the tube saturation, and then the fuzz is just
right.
So
what kind of, I mean, I'm guessing, let's just turn this on. It retains a lot of the dry, doesn't it? So it's kind of almost like an overtone rather than necessarily it's like a fuzz overtone, isn't it?
Well, my favorite part about this pedal is the way it works. It's almost like you have 2 separate tracks. So as if you were going direct to the console, and then you have another affected channel. It's like that inside the box.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. So that's quite cool, isn't it? Because I think realistically, that's probably the worst. Well, I guess it all depends on the player and everything like that. But you know, again, too much fuzz, and all of a sudden you lose all the definition of the actual bass line, don't you?
Well, one of the core things that we think about in the design of all these pedals is that when you step on the pedal, the bottom shouldn't drop out, because if it does, you just got fired.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want people to you know, be conscious of your role as a bass player.
Yeah.
So, you know, sure, you can tailor it to how you specifically hear it, but in general, you know, we want to be able to always keep the bass in the basement.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, look, so the last pedal is the newest one.
Yes.
So this is the one you've been working on, I guess, the most over the last few months or years.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little thing behind, you know, why would a bass player want to buy the bass preamp pedal?
Well, let me just go back a little bit. So we've been doing the M80 for quite a long time. It's one of our most popular pedals. It's bass preamp DI with distortion. But and it works great. It, you know, it's a very popular pedal. But when you put all that stuff in one box, distortion is a very personal and subjective thing. So not every distortion is going to work for everybody. So, and that pedal is a little larger. So we wanted to see if we can make a very clean preamp. There is no distortion. There's no overdrive. A very clean preamp that gives you a lot of tonal flexibility. It's got sweepable mid-range from 250 to 1,000 hertz. You've got separate bass and treble.
Yeah.
Separate input and output, so it works well with active or passive instruments. You've got a ground lift and a pre and post EQ for the DI.
Yeah.
So it's a great utilitarian pedal. If you get to a gig and you've got backline that's unfamiliar or not happening, you plug that in, you can send the tone that you want to the board, and it just gives you a lot more flexibility. It fits in your gig bag. You know, it's great for being able to have a different sound in the mix of your playing.
Because I guess that's quite a common consideration for bass players, isn't it? Particularly if you're traveling around London or you know, big city that you're in. You just have to use whatever backlines at the gig, don't you?
Sometimes that's the worst thing in the world. Yeah. You know, because you can't not do the gig.
Yeah.
You know, so
at least you know that you've got your kind of tone. You're still going to use the backline for on stage. Maybe it's, you know, for monitoring or whatever like that. But what the audience is going to hear, what the soundman's going to get, is a tone that you're familiar with out of this pedal. And you also said as well, which I thought was kind of cool, if you have a passive bass and you want to kind of make it active, essentially, you just use this, and it's just like having an active preamp built in. And
if you have an active bass but you want a different sound, you can use this as well. So it's not relegated to active or passive.
Cool. I'm gonna turn this on, and again, I think whilst Darryl is playing, if I kind of fiddle with some different tones and stuff, you'll get an idea. And what we'll also do in this segment as well is kind of cut in bits of, sometimes you're going to hear it coming out the actual speaker mic'd up, other times you're going to actually hear the DI output, so you can get an idea of how might it sort of affect your backline kind of tone. They'll get it, so that's cool. There's some. What do you reckon the boost on the EQ is on here? Sounds tons.
The bass, I believe, is at 40 hertz.
But how much dB of sort of boost have we got on there if I start to wind it up?
God, don't ask me those kind of questions.
A lot. You could kind of hear it was plenty. So, and actually one of the cool things was there, and I always find Darryl actually probably had for his style of playing kind of like the best sound sort of dialed in there, that real nice
the thing about it is
tone.
The great thing about EQs is that you can dial in the sound that you want, because the sound that works for me is not going to work for everybody else.
And different basses,
so,
and if you're a 4-string rather than a 5-string, all that kind of stuff. Is there, I just think, just for a bit of fun for the last segment of the video, why don't we just get a tone with, say, these 3 pedals? You can do something kind of super funky, amazing, that people are going to go, wow, that guy can really, I'm booking him for my next, you know, birthday party gig or something like that.
I love birthday party gigs.
We've just destroyed hundreds of sets of studio, like computer monitors everywhere, haven't they? People are just hanging, their headphones are hanging out of the cans and everything like that. That was amazing.
Thank you.
You're very cool, man. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you for having me. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed seeing these. You can find out more about Dunlop pedals in the description below, and I'll put a link to Darryl's website as well, so if you want to try and catch up with where he's playing soon, you know you can. Yeah, that's it. I've been Lee from Andertons. See you next time.
Peace.
Oh, Adam told me to go proper.